so many asinine and arrogant assumptions on their way. All thanks to the singing censor, Nina Jankowicz, who recently left the immoral, constitution-defying Department of Homeland Security's immoral and constitution-defying creation, euphemistically called the Disinformation Governance Board. And no, she hasn't gone back to singing yet, and she hasn't gone back to her cozy work between U.S. and Ukraine special interests that she did back in 2016. What a shocker that is, huh? No. She's appearing on one of the many other U.S. ministries of truth. This one is, of course, NPR. And she's implying that her former branch of the government-pushed truth squads, that one, the Disinformation Governance Board, could have stopped recent mass shootings and death. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV, and guess what? You got to pay for a lot of this. You know, during a worshipful May 26th interview offered by NPR's Terry Gross, for which Gross offered unsubstantiated claims that Nina Jankowicz was targeted by disinformation and harassment from the right, and that she was blitzed with threats on social media, Ms. Jankowicz tried to gloss over the fact that the agency with which she worked for a little while would define what was true, target and label those that it found straying from this government-approved truth, and use our tax cash to do all of it, all contrary to the First Amendment. It was, as Jankowicz said, much more anodyne. You see, they were only there to advise the DHS on what was disinformation. She defended the totally immoral construct by claiming the ministry has no authority to shut down speech. Of course not. The point is that they have the power. The Disinformation Governance Board still exists, now under the control of shifty former George H. Bush Homeland Security Czar Michael Chertoff. They have the power to target statements, to label them wrong speak, to pass that blackball list over to the DHS. And then it would be the DHS, which would use additional tax money taken from us to directly target us as said wrong speakers in multitudinous ways, including, given the previous precedents of the Obama administration, which attempted to use the Espionage Act against journalists and attempted to use the IRS to target conservative journalists. They might possibly use legal statutory means. They might possibly use regulatory attacks on internet providers, or they might possibly use FCC attacks. For example, Nina Jankowicz openly favored the return of the speech freezing and unconstitutional fairness doctrine, applying it to radio and possibly to online news and opinion platforms.
I'm going to jump in on the fairness doctrine bit. I personally would welcome its return to our country.
And of course, the propagandist means don't end there when it comes to our tax money being used by them. You see, Jankowicz's narrative on NPR wasn't solely focused on downplaying the clear reality of the ministry and the unctuous implication that this all is just an average, normal day in the life of Uncle Sam protecting us, I should say as Big Brother or Big Sister Sam. Jankowicz and NPR were very eager to portray this politically mandated truth machine, the Ministry of Truth at the DHS, as essential for the safety of America. You see, despite no evidence to back her up, and even though so-called law enforcement personnel were aware of the alleged shooter at Uvalde, Jankowicz tied her car to the disinformation inspired the shootings narrative. Some might call that blasphemy. And then she sent it on down the tracks on NPR.
Disinformation plays a role in radicalizing people to violence. You know, we're seeing continued mass shootings here in the United States. And in many of those cases, violent extremism is begotten by things people see on the internet. So that's the sort of thing that we would be looking to address.
This coming from a woman employed by an administration, the Attorney General of which was caught working with a leftist education cabal to portray as potential domestic terror threats concerned parents who attend local school board meetings to speak up. This coming from a woman employed by an administration that has at its disposal not only funds for NPR's government-pushing budget, but the resurrected vampire of the Portman-Murphy so-called Countering Foreign Propaganda Act office, which can spend $150 million on U.S. media outlets that it deems to be good messengers of course, the government uniparty line. Does Jankowicz and do the hacks at NPR really think Americans are so foolish that they'll believe these fantastical platitudes and snide, narrative-fitting insinuations from a woman who literally told people that they shouldn't believe reports claiming that Hunter Biden's laptop was Hunter Biden's laptop? And that it might possibly contain all kinds of ugly information about Hunter Biden? Perhaps Ms. Jankowicz has forgotten that these sorts of bald-faced lies, this seizure of taxpayer cash, these poisonous government propaganda outlets, and this gaslighting are all forms of aggression. Mendacious as she is, she can't keep lying forever. But she will spout her idiocy on any friendly press arm she can, because most of those friendly press arms have attached themselves, either ideologically or monetarily or both, to the federal government. And for them, it's better that you be told what they say is true, told that the process of telling you is saving lives, and told that taking your money to push the propaganda is for your own good. As I mentioned, and as I have written for MRC-TV, those who thought that the DHS's Ministry of Truth was new and singular, they were mistaken. The U.S. already has numerous ministries of truth, and NPR is definitely one of them. Hey, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Please like and subscribe wherever you're watching. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Rumble, where they don't censor us, thank you so much for finding us. We'll see you inside our Facebook group. Communicate with you there. We'll see you on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And of course, we'll see you at MRCTV.org. That's MRCTV.org. I'm on Gab as Gardner Goldsmith and Twitter at Gard Goldsmith. And please, if you get the opportunity, when you're at that MRCTV.org website, share the links to all sorts of stories and head to the MRC Store to help support the Media Research Center. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.